Welcome to Talkin Hoopz, everybody. AJ here with DP and James, and you're listening or watching to Talkin Hoopz, powered by CBS on chataboutit.com, the only home for Talkin Hoopz. Get at us during the week on iTunes and YouTube, and check out our podcast page on chataboutit.com for all the episodes you didn't get a chance to watch or listen to. A lot going on in the world of basketball, and you know what? We're going to get right into this. Let's start with the Larry Brown conversation we had last week, the Larry Brown situation. James, how do you really feel about Larry Brown?
You want to get me started on this?
I'm getting you started right now. How do you feel about Larry Brown?
You want to know something? And again, everybody, there are going to be people out there who are going to disagree with me. They're going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about. But you know what? I do know what I'm talking about. Larry Brown has a high basketball IQ. That's understood. However, the way he handles his players and the way he treats his players, he is definitely not a player's coach. And I definitely got into this last week. And what I mean by not being a player's coach is he comes to a team and he wants to dictate and take over, be the president of operations. He wants this guy gone. He wants to bench this guy. I don't want this star player. Give me this guy. Why the hell did you take the job then? Why do you take the job? You get into these altercations with these big-name players, altercations with Allen Iverson, that whole thing went up and down. Why do you take the job then? Why do you take the job? And you know what? As I said before last week, and I'm going to say this again, I don't care that you're the only coach that won an NCAA title and an NBA championship. That doesn't mean a thing. Phil Jackson won seven championships.
Or more, nine. I don't know.
Exactly.
We can't even count.
Come on. You can't even count. That's the true definition of a great NBA coach.
10. 6 with the
Exactly.
Bulls,
Exactly.
4 with the Lakers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the definition of a great NBA coach. And you know what? He always adapted to the teams that he had, Phil Jackson. Granted, yes, he had Kobe Bryant, he had a Michael Jordan, but he always...
Larry Brown had great players.
I
think you just have to look at...
you know what? Larry Brown was asked, again, we played this clip last show, but Larry Brown was interviewed by Steve Smith, and this is what Larry Brown had to say about possibly continuing to coach and how much the NBA has done for him and how much he loves the league. So we're going to play that right now for you.
You know what?
Nobody has had the opportunities I've had. I've been around some of the greatest players ever. I'm in the NBA, which is the finest league there is. Some way, somehow, I want to help this game. And all the things that I was taught, I'd like to pass on to other people. So in 5 years, if my wife lets me, hopefully I'll be doing something like this.
All right, so obviously Larry Brown loves being in the NBA, but I don't understand how he can love that. I'm sure he loves getting his paycheck, but everybody is on his case. Wherever he goes, usually makes a bad friendship with somebody, starts taking control, and like you said, then we're in the situation where he starts ruining players' reputations and everything that goes along with it. So,
well, one thing I want to segue, I want to transition back to Larry Brown. I want to for a second talk about Vinny Del Negro, who was recently fired earlier last week. Reason why that Vinny Del Negro was fired is that whole altercation with John Paxson, and even though John Paxson came out and said, it has nothing to do with this, blah, 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 I'm sorry for my actions, I think that's a load of crap as well, too. Vinny Del Negro is a player's coach. And the reason why that he is a player's coach is because the reason why that altercation began was because of Joakim Noah, which is your boy. You have a man crush on him, apparently.
I think it's clear he has a man crush on him.
Let's not go crazy here. But I don't have a man crush on Joakim Noah.
All right.
I just like that he starts things with big name players like LeBron. I think it's hilarious.
I think most people call that punk.
There's nothing wrong with being a punk.
Well,
I like guys like that.
I think he just tells it how it is. But going back to not the segue off topic, going back to what I was saying, Joakim Noah this year under Vinny Del Negro brought his averages up to 11 points and 11 rebounds a game, and he defended the fact that when Joakim Noah came back from injury, Del Negro said, that's my guy, I want him starting at center, I want him in my system. Paxson didn't want him. For some reason, he didn't like him. But the point I'm trying to make out of all this is because Vinny Del Negro is a player's coach. He went out, got into an altercation with the general manager over his player to defend his player that he wants playing on his team. Because when it's all said and done, it's the coach's team. The front office puts together a team. Yes, they might pay the bills, but you hire the coach your team. Your players are going to respect your coach more than they do the front office because your coach is going to be the ones taking them under your wing.
Well, at the same time, I think the Vinny Del Negro situation, he also didn't know at that time Joakim Noah was injured. He was limited to a certain amount of minutes playing time, and Paxson didn't tell Del Negro exactly how long Noah was allowed to play, what he was supposed to be doing on the court, and things he was allowed to do off the court because of his injury. So in the last 2 minutes of that game that they possibly could have won, I don't think they still would have won it if Joakim Noah was in the game. But the fact is, Paxson and Vinny Del Negro weren't on the same page. Del Negro thought he had to sit Noah. Paxson wanted Noah in the game, didn't think.
No, I think it was the other way around. Del Negro wanted to put Noah in the game. Paxson didn't want him.
No, they were. The fight was because Del Negro didn't. Though it was a bad mistake on Del Negro's part not keeping Noah in the game. He thought he was limited to minutes, and Paxson was totally against that, and that's why Del Negro was defending his play. He doesn't want anything to happen to his players.
But that's what I'm saying. And going back to Larry Brown, Larry Brown wouldn't have done that. Larry Brown would have probably said, "Oh, the hell with you. You know, you're gonna rot on my bench,"
right?
Because that's what he does.
Well, look what he did to DJ Augustine.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a rookie. You know, he says, okay, play him, but rookies need to develop. You need to play him. And then so he plays him, he makes a couple mistakes, and then that's it. All of a sudden he's in the doghouse. He's sitting on the bench all the time, and he's playing here, there. And it's not like you're on a championship team. You're playing on the Bobcats.
Exactly.
You're playing the great team that they made the playoffs, and obviously when you have a guy leading the team, that when they made that trade for Steven Jackson, it's always good to have a player like that on the team with that kind of mentality to come in and take over as a leader, because that'll also help push you into the playoff picture. But DJ Augustine, his confidence went up when Jackson came over, and obviously then Larry Brown says, okay, well now he's playing well, so I'm going to play him. But I don't like coaches that do that. I think it's wrong, and I think that's how players start to fight with the media on Larry Brown, and Larry Brown says, well, he's got to do this, he's got to do that, and the players in the beginning always do what they're told to do. And I feel the coach dictates a lot of what goes on.
Well, and Larry Brown also is no stranger to going into the media and saying how he really feels to the media, and that's disrespectful. How are you going to disrespect your player that you're coaching to the media? If anything, keep it behind closed doors. Talk to the general manager. I mean, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously keep team relations to yourselves, but Larry Brown has never shied away. I think Larry Brown thinks he's a little bit
above the game.
Right. I've always felt that with Larry Brown, but people categorize Brown, and I'm not saying the elite coaches, but if you look at Phil and Popovich and Salone, these guys have all been with two teams in 20 years, one team in close to 15 years as Salone, and Popovich has been with the Spurs for 13 years, 4 championships. I mean, why does Larry Brown walk around like he is a 10-time NBA champion, 4-time NBA champion like Popovich? And this guy's only won 1 NBA championship in 2004 with the Pistons. He lost the final year, again in the championships with the Pistons. I mean, this is not a coach that has gone, best record in NBA consecutive years in a row, back-to-back finals.
No.
A couple of, I mean, he walks around with this sense of, I have what's coming to me. And he's got 4 teams in the past 10 years, Pistons, Knicks, Charlotte, and who else am I forgetting there?
Philadelphia.
And Philadelphia. 4 teams. That's it.
Don't forget Indiana, too.
Yeah, and so if you go into the 90s, that's 5 teams in over 10 years.
I think people have put it in his head that Larry Brown is a good coach because of how far he's taken teams. But like you said, he's only won a championship once with Detroit, and there were good players in that team. That was a really good Pistons team. But what bothers me the most about Larry Brown is if a player isn't working out in his system right away, it's not working immediately, he's looking to get rid of him.
Exactly.
Right, and
you can't build a team like that.
And regardless of that, when it comes to trading players, he starts asking,
he plays GM.
He plays GM on his own. Make this trade, make that trade, and it's just do your job. Coach him. If you're having a problem, coach the player.
2 things.
Make him better.